Hey everybody, this is Dan with Adventuring Today. Sorry it's been a while since my last video. Life gets busy, and but here I am. And I've got a little bit of a different vehicle for you today. You know, typically in the past I've reviewed new vehicles, and but today I've got an old one. I've got a 2016 F150 King Ranch. Of course, it's got the 5-liter Coyote V8 and a 6-speed transmission. This is actually a vehicle that my wife and I bought after our expedition was nearly totaled in November, and we bought this for my son to practice driving on when he gets his driver's license early next year. So it does have 116,000 miles on it, but when you drive this vehicle, when you look at the paint, it feels like it's nearly brand new. I mean, whoever owned this vehicle prior to me really had really took care of the vehicle well. So today we're going to do a mile per gallon challenge, and I've done this same trek many times in the past, and it's a great way to compare cars to each other on the same trek. Now, for those of you who've never seen this before, what I'm trying to do here is mimic a morning commute that is mostly a highway commute. To give you a feel for what this is all about, it's about 8 miles. I go by the trip computer on the vehicle. I know this isn't exact science, but I do the same thing every single time, and it's pretty consistent. And it has quite a few hills in it. The speed limit is 65 miles per hour, and I will reset the trip meter right here. So we get the trip meter reset, and I just drive the speed limit. I drive in a normal fashion. I try not to hit the brake pedal on this trip. I've got quite a few heavy vehicles in front of me, so hopefully that doesn't mess me up too much on this trip this morning. We will see how it goes here. But I set the cruise control for 65 miles per hour, which I just did. And now we see how we do. So anyway, now a couple of the hills here. If you figure this trek, it's pretty flat at the beginning, and then it's flat near the end, but in the middle, it's got a really long hill up, and then it's got a long hill down. And it's about I don't know exactly, right around a 5 or 6% grade. When I did this test in the past, I've done it on an F150 that had the 2.7 liter V8 engine and a 10-speed transmission. That was a brand new vehicle. I've also done this on an F150. That was a 2019 F150 that had the 5-liter Coyote V8 with the 10-speed transmission, and the 2.7 got 22.5 miles per gallon on this trek, and the Coyote V8 that I did back in 2019 got 20.2 miles per gallon. Now, I don't expect this vehicle with 116, almost 117,000 miles on it, and the 6-speed transmission to get quite as good a gas mileage as those two vehicles, but I thought it would be an interesting experiment here to run on this vehicle. So what kind of tires does this have? We got stock size tires. It's running General Grabber ATXs, and I'm going to do a review on these tires also. I really like these tires. They're a little bit louder than things like a Continental Contact, a Train Contact AT, but I tell you, I've driven them through the snow all winter long, and the grip on these tires is really amazing. So a little bit more aggressive tread pattern. I think for the pickup and better off-road capability, if that's your main focus, the tires are really good. But I'll do more of a full review on those tires, in a couple of weeks. So anyway, when I come up these hills, those two 10-speed transmissions on the 2019 2.7 and the 2019 5-liter V8, and actually even on my 2018 Ford Expedition that had the 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost engine, all of those transmissions would shift down to 8th gear. And I'm curious to see what happens with this motor and this 6-speed transmission that Ford has on the 2016. Now, a lot of miles on this vehicle. The transmission fluid has never been changed. I've got all the service records, and the transmission shifts as if it is brand new. I mean, it shifts. It was one of the first things I noticed when I took this truck on a test drive, is just how consistent the shifting was, and it felt like a new transmission. There's no slippage. Everything was very predictable, and it did really well. So here we come onto this very first hill here. It is, like I say, about a 5 or a 6% grade, and right now we're still in 6th gear. We just downshifted to 5th, and we're holding 5th gear. So far, we're holding our speed. You may be able to make it with just one downshift. I'll see what the miles per gallon is as we get to the top of this hill. But right now we were at about 16.5 before we got to the hill, and now that we're at the very peak, and right as we get our shift back to 6th gear, I will tell you where we are. There, it shifted to 6. We're at 15.6 at the top of the hill, and so far this has been a really good run for me. With a semi truck and his Jake brake who's going off next to me there. So coming down the hill, there's a little bit of coasting that goes on, but this motor is doing really well, and like I say, this transmission. So when Ford replaced the 6-speed transmission to the 10-speed, there was a lot of controversy around that. A lot of people didn't want to see that happen because the 6-speed has been so reliable for Ford. I know there's the variation between the F150 and then the Super Duty is a slightly different design, obviously more heavy duty in the Super Duty models, but both of those transmissions had very, very reliable histories on them. And so it was one of the things I really was looking for when I was buying this truck for my son, is I wanted that 6-speed transmission, and I really wanted the 5-liter V8. The EcoBoost motors from Ford have got a lot of torque down low that the 5-liter V8 just does not have. And so when you're thinking about buying a pickup truck for your son as his very first vehicle, I wanted to have a little bit less power low in the RPM range, just to make it possibly a little bit safer for him, spinning the tires and things like that. Now, the sound of the 5-liter V8, obviously, there's no comparison. It is amazing, and so I always risk the chance that my son is going to really be ringing out this engine in the high RPMs. But I think most accidents probably happen with young kids at lower speeds, and so I'm hoping that he's safe when he's up on the highway and passing and things like that, and that he doesn't spin out of control when he's driving around town. So anyway, that was kind of the thought process. I found the vehicle that I wanted. It's a King Ranch. It's got a few more options on it than probably any young kid needs, but the vehicle is in such great condition. I did buy this during the kind of the peak of the used car market, but you know, we didn't have a whole lot of choices. We were in a jam for a vehicle, and this vehicle hit all the boxes. I wish I had lower miles, but you know, it is what it is. It's been super reliable so far. It did have the cam phaser repair done at about 80,000 miles, which I was also happy about. That's about a $3,500 job. And so, you know, a lot of those major things are out of the way, and hopefully we just have maintenance going forward for, you know, 50, 75,000 miles with this vehicle. So coming up here near the end of this trek, and right now we're at almost 19 miles to gallon. We're at 18.9. So we're doing real good. I'm gonna hit the brake where I always do, which is right when I get next to this pole over here. Between these poles is where I like to tap it. So we coast on in, and we'll see where we are here when we hit the stoplight. So it's not gonna be quite as good as the 2019, but it's not gonna be that far off. So a huge testament to the quality of vehicles that Ford makes. So we're coming to a stop here, and we are at 19.5 miles per gallon. 19.5. I will take it. Compared to a vehicle that is you know, nearly brand new. And now that vehicle that I had was a loaner, And so, as you could probably imagine, loaner vehicles get driven pretty harshly in the first, you know, several miles. People don't treat them as if they are their own. And so that engine was loosened up more than the typical brand new vehicle was. So I think there's a pretty good comparison, you know, between these two vehicles. So the 6-speed might cost you, give or take, about a half a mile per gallon on fuel mileage. But the reliability and the testament to Ford making vehicles that go a long time and still deliver very efficient experiences is really something. So anyway, thought that would be an interesting comparison there. And if you have any questions, please put them down in the comments. Thanks for being here today. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and hit that bell when new videos come out. And we will talk to you real soon. Thanks a lot, guys.